So, friends, I think we can start. I'm Yana Brinze. I'm a journalist and a TV anchor, and it is my honor to be here at this panel. Taras is going to join us in a second. He's already here, as I've been told. So please, Taras, welcome, join us, come to us, whatever. So now we're going to speak about the code of technologies and how technologies are changing the nature of our combat realities. I've seen an advert of one of the brigades, and it said that drones should fight. Who should fight is drones. But we understand that no technology can be operational if there are no people to properly use them. Therefore, within the next 45 minutes, I hope that our major topic will be about the limits of technologies. What is workable now, what is a thing of the future, and I think that we have the best qualified people for this. We have Boche here, call sign Boche, from Anti-Aircraft Missile Regiment, the 3rd Army Corps. Please, a round of applause. Taras Rokoshevskyi, co-founder of Roboneers company. Serhii Mokrenyuk, deputy director for development, Athlon Avia. Ihor Berehovenko, co-founder of CPO Air3F. Andrii Zozulia, pilot engineer, R&D division, the 1st Corps, Azov, National Guard of Ukraine. I would like to start by asking the same question to all the panelists. What are you currently working on now? You have R&D laboratories that enhance what is being used at the front line. So what are you working on, and what are your flagship products so that we better understand what we are dealing with here? Bosch, please, the floor is yours. Okay, thank you. I have some 6 minutes, right? Well, I will stop you. That is why I'd like to start with a bit of an intro, and then I'll take your question. I'd like to explain my background to you. Before the war, I was a university teacher. We had an international program, something in between the mathematics, computer sciences, and biology, and we were kind of trying to implement that in real life. That was abroad. Then the war, the full-scale war started, and I had to come back here. And that was not an obvious choice. I came here in 2022. I was in Chernihiv region with my family when it was in Chernihiv Oblast when it was occupied. On 2022, I was not recruited, and then I came back to teaching. Then I started volunteering. Then, but finally, I decided to switch to technical research and development. At that time, everyone was dealing with everything. There was not focused work and understanding what we have to do. By 2024, I understood that I can do more, and at that time I started looking for my place in the army. At that time, the question for me was where to go to defense industry or to the military. I wanted to use my potential to the full, and that choice was not obvious. We have a lot of Ukrainian companies present here. I respect them in defense industry. The salaries are better, maybe the prospects are better, but the question is where I can make most of the difference. The defense industry also is beset by problems because the lag between the producers and consumers is huge. Sometimes feedback is being ignored or just not heeded. The main question for me was where is the biggest shortage of technical experts, and the biggest shortage of technical experts was in the military. So when we speak about defense industry, any company on the market primarily has the task, which is obvious, to make money. This is not a reproach, this is just a statement of fact. But the main thing for the army is to win the war. That's why, for me, the military was where I finally decided to be. I was not very much of a Rambo. I had my own fears, my uncertainties. You hope that you don't know where you're going to end up finally. What I'm saying this for is just for the young people who are present here, so they understand that in 10 years' time, from today, if they go to the military, they understand that this is the right choice. It was the case with me, at least. I am sure that it's better for me if I was in the 3rd Army Corps. But anyway, even if it is not the 3rd Army Corps, the choice if you join the military will be right. Going back to your question, I tried to bring to the army the knowledge that I gained in the institute, at the university, and abroad. This is something that is ignored sometimes, that you have to start from literature, then simulation, mathematical modules, and only at the final stages we produce some tangible product. But in our case, we start from production and then use the best way to go about it. But it's not always the case. So the mathematical and scientific approaches, which normally are used just in research institutions, can be very helpful for the army. This is the way we work. We do this for air defense in our anti-aircraft regiment, and I think that we're doing a good job. Andrii, you are at the front line from 2024 as well, and you take an active part in developing the technologies when they're already at quite a high level. Your R&D laboratory with Azov, what are the main tasks and goals of your laboratory? Everyone here, my brethren in arms, and the young people in the audience. Speaking about research and development, I'd like to emphasize that we primarily take a look at the situation on the market. We work out the ideas which are already present there. We test them, trying to align them with the characteristics of the producers. We assess them for combat worthiness, and we try to come up with the relevant solutions before the product is finally used. When we assess one decision or another, we are guided by the main principle, people-centrism, in the application of these products. When we speak about certain solutions, they normally are born in the minds of people who are far away from the front line, and they assess the operational capability of this product depending on the circumstances in which they live. And in this context, it is difficult to foresee all the problems that might arise on the battlefield. Our team is very young, and we deal with translating these decisions from the right angle, from which we think would be the most efficient way to use them. Thank you. Taras. So let's speak about the experience of the producers. You the ground unmanned vehicles is your flagship products. What are your main technologies are about? Thank you, welcome, and greetings to everyone. If there's a video, I would like to show it to you so that this would save me speaking a lot, and it will give you a better picture what it's all about.
Мабуть, гарне відео.
Well, it's a nice video. Well, actually, this video is nothing without the people who stand behind all that. And the panel gathered here for the sake of the people who are gathered in front of us, because we want to establish a large platform to develop a code, technological code, military code, or otherwise for these people. When I came to the front line, I came from Lviv to Kyiv, and my dad asked me, just like any dad would, maybe you should better cover your ass. Why do you go there? People go from Kyiv to Lviv and you go in the opposite direction. I don't know if this is our war or not. Just think about it. So I asked myself a question whether this is the war of our generation, and I said to my dad, probably this is the war of your generation, because any war is being in the making for a long time, and a country shows basically well in advance whether they can attack you or not, and they do this primarily by analyzing the code of the country which the enemy views as an adversary. If you see that someone is weaker than you, just like out in nature, that predators devour their prey. So I told my father, this is your war, I have to finish it and make sure that my kids live in peace. So it's not that much a matter of products. Technologies are primarily about people. We've seen that technologies, if we see problems in technologies, we immediately see that the problem is also related to people. I started my work from volunteering. I would go to the front line and ask people, guys, what do you need? And then you would think, how can you gather people to come up with a technology which would be helpful at the front line? So this is, the bottom line is, all this is about people. So we can tell you about flagships and so on. We created the ground unmanned vehicles. All that is true. But the basic point is to make sure that people don't get to die, to protect people, because people are the most important thing that matters. So when we launched our business, the Miltech company, we saw our main mission is to make sure that our economy works and so that this cooperation would not go in ups and downs, but would be a steady line whereby the military would say that we would need this or that, and you align what you do with their requirements. I used to come to Yuri, to Achilles detachment, and he would tell me all the specifics about there, and I would tell him about the specifics of Militech company, just because we exchanged information among ourselves. So this is primarily about cooperation between people, and we want to impart that to you, and all these technologies seek primarily to keep our economy, to preserve people's lives, and to create the right companies to sustain the army, to retain professionals who would be working on this code, because the technological code stands in front of the people. People are backing up this code. That's why we tell you that any technologist who would develop a linear production of some engines or UAVs, that's fine, and the military will be very grateful to you for that. Or if you have a manager, for instance, who launches a large-scale project or builds some practical thing, for instance, a factory to produce batteries, our own capability to produce batteries, not Chinese batteries, but our own production. This is technological product which would be very much needed for the army. And we just try to explain it to you that either you are at the front line or you work for the front line. And we try to find the code of the right people and right technologies, because people will come up with what is really needed for the front line. This cluster which we have is basically aimed at what you need. You come to us and we will share it with you. So your flagship product is about human interrelations. Yes, because any product is about people. You come, you take your product. Engineers working in the office somewhere in Lviv, they don't understand what to produce for the guys at the front line in Bakhmut, for instance, when the Bakhmut was still being defended by our military, which is not the case now because it is occupied. And they generate technologies and products. Finally, the bottom line is that this is about collaboration of people. And I guess that the panels that we have here are about shaping the code. But this is the code of people. It's all about people and their choices, whether they will work on technologies or go to the front line or deal with diplomacy. This is all about this human code. I think that Serhii probably has a similar vision. Serhii Mokrenyuk, Athlon, Avia.
The also this movement started working on drones earlier. Tell us about your flagship. I think it's also going to be not a drone. First of all, I want to thank the organizers for inviting me to this panel, and for me it's a great honor to inform you about the position of our producers. I am Deputy Director for the development, and our product is unmanned airborne system Furia. Its task is artillery reconnaissance up to 30-40 kilometers. And I'm very pleased to speak about after my colleague, because every day we ask ourselves in our company, so we have 100 plus military organisms having our produce in use. and they have about 400 teams, for example. And I ask myself a question, whether our end users are really able to get 100% of capability from our produce in a combat situation. This is a basic question. On preparing to this event, I thought, what allegory could this be? Imagine that you have a telephone in your hand. How many percent of its capacity you really utilize? Definitely not all. So the question is that the device does not work properly without people who are well prepared and who know how to use it. Another issue, another factor is an environment. The device does not exist in itself. We use something important which can do something. For instance, our drone. We use it, but it may be shot down. It may be killed with the help of radio electronic devices. It needs servicing. The service is done by people. It must be repaired. The repair is done by people. How well they they do this repair? If you add more resin to some wing of this drone, it will lose some percentage of its capacity because of overloading. Another question, for the repair you need spare parts. Somebody has to deliver these spare parts. Now we are working on the issue of moving the repair from our mission to closer to the front line and working on with military on training people to do that. And then, look, we have a device, then repair works, service works, spare parts, logistics, all this, a certain environment. The question is, how does this device function in this environment? In order to make a sortie, the pilot should know what's going on where, how he communicates with other people, with other teams. Everything is so simple. In order to make a sortie, the pilot has to assess a number of factors. The strengths of the enemy. How does he know about it? Somebody has to inform him. Somebody has to inform him about our forces. Then he assesses the electronic warfare used by the enemy. Then he needs to calculate how he will reach a certain point at a certain time under certain conditions. Because at the very time artillery is going to work on that target, there is no sense to come earlier or later to that point. So he has to interact with another team as something common, something single. How does he know about it? In order to get this knowledge, to understand, we launched a competition. The pilots had to take one of their missions and to describe it from the point of view of the doctrine on how they learn the experience as a lesson to share with others. When we started looking at what we were presented by the flight crews, now the judges representing military universities are assessing these materials, evaluating these materials. Some teams, it showed that some teams don't know how Delta functions. Situation awareness didn't work properly. In other case, all the pilots describe everything which happened to them in one layer. whether there is a difference, whether it influences the combat operations. Recently, the Ministry of Defense informed that 5,000 military personnel last year have gone through the System of Situational Awareness Delta training. And my question is, let's calculate how many years or decades we need to for people to learn Delta at the level of brigades. Then another product information system of the 69th Center of Electronic Support, Graphite, which allows any military person in a real time to know which enemy flying objects are in the vicinity. Not everybody knows about it. We all live as a single system. It happens that people don't learn, knowledge is not shared, and management is not efficient. And when we go deeper or up there, we forget that we have to broaden our awareness, broaden the knowledge of all. That's why we started a recruiting campaign where we offer civilians to join our armed forces to become qualified operators, because it's very difficult to find qualified operator. As the pilots may learn for years, there is no limit to get knowledge by pilots. That's why on the one hand these are people, on the other hand it's a device, and the third hand it's knowledge, and all this should mutually influence. How is the communication goes on between the military? It's a question. Whether we do proper and high quality information as producers. If people don't have enough knowledge on how to use the device, they cannot provide us with a good quality feedback. If a person is knowledgeable, then this allows us to take necessary decisions. That's why I say that people are number one, device is number two, and knowledge is number three. The most important is to manage these three pillars for everything to be interrelated and for as many people as possible to be engaged, educated, and understand their importance. So some people may just make a phone call or do some work with a telephone. Thank you very much. Your flagship product is broadening capabilities and turning R3F unmanned flying objects. Then recently you issued land robotic system for Han. Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me. Without military, you cannot go anywhere. And what I would like to add is about communication. Communication allowed us to grow. Thanks to communication, we improved our product with time. In principle, when you take ground stations, they fulfill the same task. But how it differs from what it was a year and a half ago and now, these are two different devices. Thanks to this, we thank to military for this communication, for the feedback which we get from military. And this allows us to make everything better, to improve. And our point of view is that whatever you improve, you can make it better tomorrow. About robotic land system, we've worked on it for 2 years. We realized that there is a need in it, because there would be not enough to have only flying devices, and that land robotic system is necessary, is needed. We worked for a long time. Our chief engineer was very thorough about this. And now we are at a stage of mass production of this robotic system. We are very much satisfied.
Так, тобто ви ще можете до цього міксу, який ми чули, додати комунікацію, але загалом я всім вам вдячна за такий гуманістичний початок, точніше першу половину нашої розмови. Я б все-таки зараз хотіла перейти більше до технологій. Друже Бош.
Now, okay. We'd like to talk to you that the war, on the one hand, requires mass production of weapons, which go to the front line. The modern war requires quick adaptation. How to find this balance when we need a lot, but it's already not adequate? I would divide the task of development into two parts. First, because you have to adapt all the time, permanently. You have to adapt to the front line, to what the enemy is doing. But on the other hand, without long-term planning, no big project is possible. These are two sides of the coin, of the same coin. We have a long-term project, includes human labor, money, resources, and permanently we improve it all the time. That's why in the sense of long-term planning, sometimes we have some smaller problems. From my point of view, it's important to know that tomorrow or the day after tomorrow in a year, you'll have enough people, enough funds, and possibility to work and to get feedback all the time, listening to the end users of this product who tell you what should be improved. And for me, it's a guarantee of good, high-quality product for the army. So we are talking about some serious instruments, serious tools. It's not just getting together parts which we get in the market and saying that we have something unique. No, we use new basic physical principles, how to use.
Будь-які революції на полі бою нашого спочатку повномасштабної війни були якраз коли люди думали не так, як раніше до цього думали.
How to apply it at the front line, the way people before never did.
90 ідей у вас не спрацюють.
90 ideas will not work, but 10% will work. It will make a big difference. Thank you for this. Andrii, Zozulia, artificial intelligence. Currently at all conference they are discussing, will this change mankind or not? What are the prospects for application of AI at the front line? About AI, I would like to say the following. We actively using systems, last mile complexes, which are represented in Ukrainian market, in the world market. Many well-established companies produce them. They demonstrate certain efficiency, and I would like to say that for them to demonstrate themselves to full capacity at the front line, they must be applied in a massive scale. It's a question to producers and to military personnel. Often military personnel hope that this is the last resort, meaning that we will use it for the most important attack, and it will done everything for ourselves. At the same time, producers present it as a system which may solve all your problems, but the truth is somewhere in between, because it's a good tool which, when it is used by good hands in a correct time. Also, I see a lot of prospects in applying AI to the identification systems, detection systems of flying drones and other means of the enemy. This could be various neuronic networks, trained models, and so on. But in general, these are the things which we have already.
Якщо їх можна автоматизувати і покласти.
We already can
we already can invent them, and if we can use hundreds of kilobytes, then we will see what the commander intent is and what the means are to automate a lot of processes. Besides, an interesting phenomenon in Ukrainian militech is whereby the developer and the end user at the battlefield communicate, and when people come to the units with the capacity of using the systems with high quality, they get feedback and they iterate their solutions as fast as possible. So I would like to call on the manufacturers, go out of your comfortable offices, go to your end users, pilots, operators, sergeants, get feedback about your systems, productivity and performance, take that into account, take that on board and revise your solutions. So that's the issue of technological future. Ground robotized devices do lots of things. That's logistics, that's evacuation, delivery of ammunition, you name it. But in the very short perspective, what percent of loading can be put on the ground drones? So any military serviceman or woman would say that it's the mainstay of logistics, and without logistics you can do nothing. So these are the main strategic stories. We have to cut the enemy's logistics and to make sure that your logistics operates at a short distance, at a long distance. And ground drones, a couple of years ago, when we were using the just small machines and we didn't even have the name for them, and when people from the ministries asked us what we should call it, and they said, okay, let us call them ground robotic complex. Now we call them this, or the ground drones. And when you are there at the front line talking to the guys in the trenches, and you see their needs, and then you invent something to address that need. And that's how we worked, how we grew as a manufacturer of something that now is known or referred to as ground robotic complex. Now it changes the doctrine of warfare, the military doctrine. It's not only about UAVs or ground drones. All of these technologies are changing the entire military doctrine, and we know that the NATO allies are following suit, and they are closely observing what's going on, and they see how things are changing and how standard things in their doctrines when it comes to certain military systems are no longer valid. Everything has been transformed. Now, returning to the ground drone, what can they do in the future? Of course, if we connect better systems of situational awareness, we can upload software where you can have the commander actually controlling this ground drone from any place in Ukraine. Sometimes we even tested this remote control from a different continent, and that did work. But this is still a huge challenge. And the success rate is 50-50. It's all about the human factor, because AI and neural system that we are going to introduce will have to be controlled by a human being anyway. So these ground drones can replace crews. They can minimize the engagement of humans in any combat. Of course, they would not replace them completely, and some say that if there is a ground drone and it will fully replace infantry, or the assault complex would actually capture a town or a village. No, don't believe it. People are behind everything, and a collaboration between the machine and the human being, the human control, are essential. So indeed, we don't know the full capacity of such machines. You can see that in 3 or 4 months, the product is totally reworked or overhauled. This ground drone can be integrated into a more sophisticated system, and yes, there is no universal solution. You just think of one thing, then you launch it to the battlefield, and it kills all of your enemies. No, we don't have it. Yeah, I would like to discuss it with Igor. You are new in this niche. It took you 18 months to develop this ground robotic complex, and 18 months ago it wasn't mainstream. What prospects do you see for this complex? There are lots of different uses in the military sphere and in the civilian sphere. It took us so long because we strove to have a high-quality device. At the beginning, it was just a toy compared to what we've got today. And we know that this device should be scaled up. As an engineer, I treated it very thoroughly and very demandingly, I would say. So the first ground robotic complexes were all about radio communication, just up to 6 kilometers with the broadcaster. And now we have got a Starlink radio communication. We can have also optics, and then it will be observing the situation. So when we don't have Starlink or say optics, then we will have a reserve device that can be mounted on that complex. And it is a sophisticated solution, and we want to scale it up. But then we will be again transforming it based on the feedback from the military, from the active servicemen and servicewomen, and it is continuous improvement, of course. Yeah, thank you very much, Serhii. If you want to add something, you can do that, but I would like to ask a specific question of you. I know that you have been in this sphere since 2014. How do you retain this fresh eye? How can we make sure that we don't lose this race for technological edge? Yeah, this machine was so built that the crew can start participating in a context only when they call me, my personal telephone. I interviewed all of the potential designers or developers, and I told them all, have a positive mission and one negative mission, and you will be proud of those all the time with the positive option. But with the negative one, you will feel ashamed, and you would be trying to do your best not to repeat this failure. So interestingly, there was not a single negative scenario that I would receive from those callers of mine. Do you know why? Look at the panelists. That's the third corps, that's Azov, and it doesn't surprise me because many people are still delusional. we all know our enemy. These are the Russians, and they have greater capacity, they have higher quality, and they are able to scale up things very fast and very broadly. They sometimes just copy what we do, but we don't have this capacity. For one thing, we are a democratic country. We cannot order all of the manufacturers to that. And we are a much smaller country. I don't believe in any wonder weapon. I don't believe that we will have a silver bullet that will transform everything. Our major resource is the people who support one another, who have stood up and put up resistance. So we cannot be successful if we only rely on the Third Corps, the Fifth Corps, and say the Azov. So because these are technological solutions. These battalions, these corps, these units do use technologies, but others don't. So we have to have one stream that is develop what the best mil-tech companies are developing and implementing now. And the military units, they don't have the skills, do not have experience on with the use of technologies, would learn those skills and start using those technologies. We, as a manufacturing company, ask ourselves every day, how can we add 1% of better quality of communication, better quality of people skills, better quality of processes, better quality of links. So I hope I've answered your question. Yes, and 1 second to us for commentary. Our message is as follows to all of you. Go out of the box. Have the broad world out view. And that will enable you to be creative, to create new technologies or new solutions or even smaller tweaks that can be very useful. Then come to us. We will leave it all to you. You will have this actually heritage from us, but be broad in your vision, be strong in your actions, do join in, enhance your own companies, create your new companies, and develop your own code. And this code should be security shielded, should be actually part of our common defense. Now it's our task to defend you, but later you will be defending us. So we will pass it over to you for you to defend us at a later stage, because each generation, each stage of this spring of our national code is mutually dependent on other stages and generations. And any code, as I said before, strives to get you prepared, and you should input a lot of effort in getting prepared. So, because you are part of the Ukrainian code. Thank you very much. Thank you. The most sophisticated code is DNA. So we will be using the DNA of the Ukrainian nation, the DNA of Ukrainians, and together we will stand up. Heroism works where the system fails. But for the system not to fail, we need to get energy. So you can go now, and in an hour we will have an OSINT workshop.